When my mother told me she was suing for half the family business, after I'd spent 15 years building it from nothing, I slammed the inheritance papers in her face and told her to get out of my life. 3 days later, I was sitting across from my father's attorney discovering the fortune I thought I'd inherited was drowning in debt. That's when I realized family loyalty is like invisible ink, it only reveals itself when held to fire. If you're watching this, hit subscribe and tell me where you're from. Because trust me, this story twists more than a contortionist on espresso. My hands wouldn't stop shaking as I sat in Mr. Peterson's office. The leather chair felt cold against my back, almost as cold as the look my mother had given me at Dad's funeral 2 weeks ago. Are you sure you want to proceed without your mother present, Ms. Carter? Mr. Peterson adjusted his wire-rimmed glasses, his expression unreadable. Absolutely. The word came out sharper than I intended. She made her choice when she tried to steal what my father built, what we built together. He nodded, sliding the envelope across his mahogany desk. Your father's final will and testament, as requested. Outside, rain lashed against the windows of the downtown high-rise. Appropriate weather for the final chapter of my father's legacy. I could almost hear him, his booming laugh, the way he'd say, "Catherine, you're my rock," whenever we closed a big contract. Before you open that, Mr. Peterson said carefully, there's something you should know. I froze, the envelope half opened in my hands. What? Your father made some changes to his will. Significant ones, just days before his heart attack. My stomach dropped. What kind of changes? He was concerned about the company's direction. Mr. Peterson removed his glasses, polishing them with a cloth. Classique styling technique. And about your relationship with your mother. My mother hasn't cared about this family in years, I snapped. She abandoned Dad when he got sick. Abandoned me. Then shows up at his funeral like she's the grieving widow? Please. The memory burned fresh, Mom standing there in her black dress, tears streaming down her face. Fake tears. Had to be. The woman who'd walked out on Dad when his Parkinson's diagnosis came through doesn't get to cry at his funeral. Nevertheless, Mr. Peterson continued, your father had concerns that you two would end up exactly where you are now, at war with each other. Script part separator, I ripped open the envelope. The pages inside were crisp, official, stamped with Dad's signature at the bottom. I scanned quickly, my heart racing. This can't be right, I whispered. I'm afraid it is. Mr. Peterson's voice softened, almost pitying. Dad hadn't left me everything. The company was split, 60% to me, 40% to my mother. The woman who hadn't set foot in Carter Electronics for 5 years. She doesn't deserve this, I said, voice trembling. She left him. Left us both. Your father was very specific, Peterson said. He believed family reconciliation was important. Reconciliation. I laughed bitterly. Is that what he called it when she served him divorce papers while he was getting chemo? The rain beat harder against the windows. Thunder rumbled in the distance. There's more, Peterson said quietly. I flipped to the next page and my blood ran cold. A condition. The company shares would only transfer if Mom and I attended monthly board meetings together for 1 year. If either of us missed even one, everything would be liquidated, with half going to charity. He's forcing us to work together from beyond the grave, I whispered. Peterson nodded. Your father believed you two needed to heal this rift. There's nothing to heal. She betrayed him. Betrayed us both. My phone buzzed. A text from Mom. Have you heard the terms yet? We need to talk. I showed Peterson. See. She already knows. Who told her? I did. As executor, I'm obligated to inform all beneficiaries. I stood, gathering my things. Well, she can forget it. I'd rather burn the company to the ground than share it with her. Peterson's expression hardened. Then you'll lose everything your father built. Is that what you want, Ms. Carter? Outside his office, I leaned against the wall, fighting tears. Dad's company, my company, was all I had left of him. Could I really let it go just to spite her? My phone buzzed again. Catherine, please. There's so much you don't know. Script part separator, I deleted her message without responding. Typical Mom, always claiming there were things I didn't understand. That was her excuse for everything, including abandoning Dad when he needed her most. The elevator doors opened to the parking garage. Stepedalt, fumbling for Mike's astis blue had my vision. How could Dad do this to me? After everything I'd sacrificed, putting college on hold when he got sick, working nights to keep the company afloat while he underwent treatment. My phone hung. Mom again. I silenced it and slid behind the wheel of my BMW, the car Dad had given me last Christmas. For the CEO, he'd said proudly. The rain pounded my windshield as I sat there, unable to start the engine. Memories flooded back, Mom teaching me to ride a bike, baking cookies for school fundraisers, holding my hand through Dad's first hospitalization. When had it all changed? When had she become the villain in our story? The truth hit me like a physical blow. I didn't know. I'd been so busy keeping the company alive, so focused on being Dad's rock, I never asked what happened between them. I'd simply accepted his version, that she abandoned us for a younger man, that she couldn't handle his illness. My phone buzzed with a text. The Plaza Café. 7 horas da noite, please come. There are documents you need to see. I almost deleted it. Then stopped. Documents? What documents could possibly justify what she did? E started the car, pulling out into the Herança streets. The company offices were just a few blocks away. I needed to think, needed to process what was happening. Carter Electronics occupied 3 floors of a sleek downtown building. Dad had been so proud when we moved in 5 years ago, upgrading from our humble beginnings in a warehouse space. Look at what we built, Katie, he'd said, arm around my shoulders. Now half of it belonged to my mother, the woman who hadn't even visited him in the hospital. I parked in my reserved spot and hurried through the downpour to the lobby. The security guard nodded as I passed. Evening, Mestre Carter. Terrible weather we're having. Script part separator, The elevator ride to the top floor felt longer than usual. My mind raced through options. Fight the will, buy Mom out somehow, or maybe just walk away completely. Start fresh. The doors opened, revealing our reception area. Even at 6:30 p.m., Melissa was still at her desk. Miss Carter. I didn't expect you today. Her eyes were red-rimmed. Everyone loved Dad. He knew every employee's name, their kids' names too. Just needed to grab some files, I lied. Go home, Melissa. It's late. After she left, I stood in the hallway looking at the 2 offices at the end, mine and Dad's. His door was closed, just as we'd left it after he didn't come back from lunch that day. Heart attack, right at his favorite restaurant. I couldn't face his empty office. Instead, I went to mine, sinking into my chair and staring at the rain-streaked window. The skyline blurred through tears I refused to let fall. My desk phone rang, startling me. Hello. Catherine, it's James Thompson. Dad's oldest friend and our company's CFO. James. What are you doing at the office so late? There was a pause. I'm not. I'm at the Grand Hotel with your mother. Sat up straight. What? She asked me to make sure you're coming to dinner. Said you might need convincing. Why are you with her? You know what she did to Dad. Another pause. That's the thing, Kate. I don't think you know what really happened. What are you talking about? Your father's company. It's not what you think. The books, the contracts with Meridian Tech. What about them? Just come to dinner. Your mother has the documentation. Things your father kept from you. Are you seriously taking her side? My voice rose. There are no sides here, Catherine. Only truth. And it's time you knew it. The line went dead. Sat frozen, staring at the phone. What documentation? What was James implying about Dad's dealings with Meridian, our biggest client? The digital clock on my desk flipped to 6:45. I had 15 minutes to decide whether to meet them. My phone buzzed with another text from Mom. Please come. After tonight, if you still hate me, I'll sign over my shares and disappear. Script part separator, Rain pelted the windshield as I drove to the Plaza Café, my mind spinning with possibilities. What could Mom possibly show me that would justify her betrayal? And why was James involved? The restaurant was upscale, Dad's favorite for business meetings. I spotted them immediately in a corner booth. Mom looked older than at the funeral, her once vibrant face lined with exhaustion. James sat beside her, a manila folder on the table. You came, Mom said, standing as I approached. I didn't hug her. I'm here for answers, not reconciliation. James pushed the folder toward me. Catherine, what you're about to see, it's going to change everything you thought you knew. Inside were bank statements, contracts, and offshore account details, all in Dad's handwriting. My stomach churned as I read through the documents. This can't be true, I whispered. Mom reached for my hand. Ipulidawi. Dad was embezzling from the company? Falsifying contracts with Meridian? James nodded grimly. He started small, after his diagnosis. Medical bills were piling up, and he was desperate. Why didn't you tell me? I demanded. He threatened to fire me if I did, James said. But your mother found out. Mom's eyes filled with tears. I confronted him, begged him to stop before it was too late. He refused. Said he was doing it for you, for your future. So you divorced him. When he was sick. My voice cracked. I divorced him because he gave me an ultimatum. Stay quiet about the fraud or get out. Ishos integrite, Caterini. And he punished me by turning you against me. I stared at the evidence before me, my father's crimes laid bare. The company I'd sacrificed everything for was built on fraud. There's more, Mom said quietly, sliding another document across the table. The IRS is investigating. They contacted me last week. Script part separator, The IRS notice trembled in my hands, official government letterhead stark against the white paper. Preliminary investigation into financial discrepancies, it read. How long have you known? I asked, voice barely audible over the restaurant's ambient noise. About the fraud. 3 years, Mom said. About the investigation? Just days before your father died. My world tilted sideways. Is that why he changed his will? Because he knew this was coming? James nodded. I believe so. By forcing you two to work together, he ensured neither of you could throw the other under the bus when this broke. Clever, I said bitterly. Use us as human shields. Catherine, Mom leaned forward. I never abandoned your father because he was sick. I left because he became someone I didn't recognize. Desperate, paranoid, willing to break laws he once respected. Why didn't you fight harder to tell me the truth? Pain flashed across her face. I tried. Don't you remember? Those calls you ignored? The letters you returned unopened? You were so devoted to him, so convinced I was the villain. The waiter approached, but James waved him away. The company could face criminal charges, James said quietly. Both of you could too, as beneficiaries, unless we act quickly. What do you suggest? I asked, suddenly feeling 20 years older. Full cooperation with the IRS. Return the embezzled funds. Restructure the company from the ground up. He tapped the folder. But it only works if you both present a united front. Mom reached for my hand again. This time, I didn't pull away. I know you don't trust me, she said. But I never stopped loving you, Catherine. Not for a single day. The restaurant lights dimmed, casting shadows across our table. 3 people trapped in a dead man's web of lies. We have 48 hours to respond to the IRS, James said. After that, they'll escalate to a formal investigation. Script part separator, I rubbed my temples, the weight of everything crushing down on me. So all this time, while I thought I was protecting Dad's legacy, you were protecting his crimes, Mom finished quietly. Catherine, he was a good man who made terrible choices when faced with his own mortality. And now we're left holding the bag. I looked between them. Do I even have a choice here? James slid another document across the table. You always have choices. This is your severance package, if you walk away now. I stared at the number. 7 figures. Enough to start over somewhere new. And abandon the employees. I asked. There are 37 families depending on Carter Electronics for their livelihoods. 39, Mom corrected. James hired 2 more last month. Something in her casual knowledge of company details caught me off guard. You've been keeping tabs? Every day since I left. Her eyes met mine. Just because your father pushed me out doesn't mean I stopped caring. Outside, lightning flashed, momentarily illuminating the restaurant. In that brief, harsh light, I saw the toll the years had taken on her, the gray streaking her once auburn hair, the worry lines framing her mouth. The board meeting is scheduled for Monday, James said. First one required by the will. If you both attend, we can present our plan to address the IRS investigation. And if we don't? I asked. Everything gets liquidated. The company dies. And the IRS will still come after both of you as beneficiaries of fraudulent gains. Mom reached for her purse. I'll understand if you need time to think about this. Wait, I said as she stood to leave. Where are you staying? De Grand Hotel. Room 712. She hesitated. Your father's favorite room. After she left, I turned to James. Did you know? All along. He looked away. I suspected. But Catherine, your father was like a brother to me. That's not an answer. No, he admitted. It's not. Script part separator equals. I drove home through streets washed clean by the downpour, my mind as turbulent as the weather. The house, Dad's house, now mine, stood dark and imposing. I'd moved back in when he got sick, never left after. Inside, I kicked off my heels and poured a generous glass of whiskey, Dad's favorite Macallan 18. The irony wasn't lost on me as I raised the glass in a mock toast to his portrait hanging above the fireplace. Well played, Dad. Well played. The house felt different now, every corner hiding potential secrets. I wandered into his study, running my fingers along the leather-bound books he'd collected. Behind his desk hung the framed first dollar from Carter Electronics, dated 15 years ago. Had the fraud started even then? My phone rang, a number I didn't recognize. Ms. Carter? This is Agent Wilson from the Internal Revenue Service. My bland froze. How did you get this number? That's not important. What's important is that we have a meeting scheduled with Carter Electronics representatives tomorrow at 2 p.m. Your presence is strongly encouraged. Tomorrow. But James said we had 48 hours. A pause. Mr. Thompson contacted us 3 days ago, Ms. Carter. Perhaps you should ask him about that discrepancy. The call ended, leaving me staring at my phone in disbelief. James had lied about the timeline. What else was he lying about? Ideal Edmonds Hotel Reviravolta thinking. Catherine. She answered on the first ring, voice alert despite the late hour. James lit. The IRS is coming tomorrow, not in 2 days. I heard her sharp intake of breath. That doesn't make sense. Why would he? I don't know, but I think we need to talk. We vouch James. Script part separator equals. I'll be there in 20 minutes. The Grand Hotel lobby glittered with late-night luxury. Crystal chandeliers, marble floors, staff who pretended not to notice my rain-soaked appearance as I rushed toward the elevators. My mind raced faster de my artiat. If James had lied about the IRS timeline, what else was he hiding? Room 712. I knocked softly, then harder when there was no answer. Mom opened the door, hair pulled back, reading glasses perched on her nose. She'd been reviewing documents spread across the king-sized bed. Come in, she said, stepping aside. I ordered coffee. I paced the room, taking in the scattered papers. What are these? Everything I could gather about your father's dealings with Meridian Tech. She handed me a stack. Defraud goals de perdem James Letion. I flipped through contracts with signatures that didn't match, invoices for products we never manufactured. Dad was laundering money, wasn't he? De realization hit like a physical blow. Mom nodded grimly. For Martin Reeves at Meridian. They've been friends since college. Martin Reeves, Meridian's CEO. Dad's golfing buddy. The man who gave me my fast internship. Does James know about this connection? Not just knows, Mom said quietly. He facilitated it. These bank transfers all have his authorization. My legs via Kenne. I sank into the nearest chair. So this whole time, James has been playing both sides. She sat across from me. The IRS showing up tomorrow isn't a mistake. He's setting us up to take the fall. My mind whirled with implications. The inheritance split, the forced collaboration, it wasn't Dad's attempt at reconciliation. He was creating a unified target, I whispered. If we're fighting each other, we're not watching James, Mom finished. A knock at the door made us both jump. Serve-se, a voz se called. Mom approached cautiously, checking the peephole before opening the door. A young vai ter vele de a coffee service. As he arranged cups on the table, I noticed him glancing at our scattered documents. His movement seemed too precise, too measured for ordinary hotel staff. Thank you, that'll be all, I said sharply. After he left, Mom locked the door and turned to me. Did you see how he was looking at our papers? We need to get these somewhere safe, I said. And we need a lawyer who isn't connected to the company. Mom checked her watch. It is almost midnight. The IRS meeting is in 14 hours. Script part separator, I grabbed my phone, scrolling through contacts. There's Sandra Chin. She helped with that contract dispute last year. Dad added her. Mom smiled for the first time. Then she's perfect. I made the call, explaining our situation in urgent whispers. Sandra agreed to meet us at her office in an hour, an expensive hour, but we had no choice. We gathered the documents, shoving them into Mom's leather briefcase. As we stepped into the hallway, the elevator dinged. James stepped out, stopping short when he saw us. Caterine, what are you doing here? The same could be asked of you, I replied, instinctively moving in front of Mom. I came to check on Eleanor. His eyes flicked to the briefcase. Going somewhere? Just getting some air, Mom said smoothly. Too many memories in this room. James stepped closer. You know, Eleanor, I've always admired your ability to lie convincingly. Is that where Catherine gets it? The hallway suddenly felt too narrow, too confined. James blocked our path to the elevator, his familiar face now menacing in the dim light. We know about your arrangement with Martin Reeves, I said. And we're meeting with the IRS tomorrow with our own evidence. Something dangerous flashed in his eyes. I wouldn't recommend that. Move aside, James. Mom's voice was steel. Or I'll call security. Relogued, a hollow sound. They won't come. E the night manager até significa favor. My phone buzzed. A text from Sandra. Don't trust hotel phones or Wi-Fi. Meet at back entrance. Bringing help. I grabbed Mom's arm. Let's go. Now. James reached for the briefcase. I think I'll take that. Script part separator, Mom yanked the briefcase back. You're not taking anything, James. His hand shot out, grabbing her wrist. You always were stubborn, Eleanor. That's why William could never control you. I reacted on instinct, swinging my heavy purse at his head. It connected with a satisfying thud. James staggered, releasing Mom's arm. Run. I grabbed her hand as we bolted toward the stairwell. Behind us, James shouted, Security. Stop them. We crashed through the stairwell door, our footsteps echoing as we raced down. 7 floors, my heels slipping on each step, Mom's breathing heavy beside me. He's been working against us from the beginning, Mom gasped between breaths. Save it, I panted. Just keep moving. At the 3rd floor, we heard the stairwell door above us slam open. James's voice echoed down. They're in the stairs. Cut them off at the lobby. This way, Mom pulled me through the 3rd floor exit. Service elevator. I used to stay here with your father all the time. The hallway was deserted, guest rooms quiet. Mom led me around a corner to a small service elevator hidden behind a decorative screen. How did you? Your father liked discretion when meeting certain clients, she said pointedly, pushing the button. The elevator arrived with a soft ding. We slipped inside, Mom hitting the button for the basement. Sandra said back in trance, I reminded her. Which connects to the parking garage in the basement, she explained. Your father's usual escape route when avoiding paparazzi, or his wife. The elevator descended in silence, the tension between us shifting from antagonism to something else, a reluctant partnership forged in crisis. The doors opened to a dimly lit concrete space. Mom stepped out first, leading me through a maze of service corridors until we reached a metal door marked exit. Outside, rain still poured. A black sedan idled at the curb, headlights off. The window lowered, revealing Sandra's sharp features. "Get in," she called. Quickly. We dove into the back seat, slamming the door as Sandra accelerated away from the hotel. "Did anyone follow you?" she asked, eyes on the rearview mirror. "James Thompson," I said. "Dad's CFO. He's involved in whatever Dad was doing with Meridian Tech == script part separator ===." Sandra nodded grimly, turning onto a side street. "I've dealt with Thompson before. Slippery as they come." The briefcase sat between Mom and me, our last hope against whatever storm was coming. "Start from the beginning," Sandra instructed. "And don't leave anything out." As Mom detailed Dad's fraud and James's involvement, I watched the rain-slicked streets blur past. My entire life had been a carefully constructed lie. The company I devoted myself to, the father I'd idolized, the mother I'd villainized. "We're here," Sandra announced, pulling into an underground garage beneath a nondescript office building. "My private practice. No connections to your father's corporate attorneys." Inside her office, bright lights illuminated a conference room where a young man in rumpled clothes waited, surrounded by laptops. "This is Marcus," Sandra introduced. "Former IRS investigator, now my consultant. He'll help us prepare for tomorrow." For the next 3 hours, we pieced together Dad's scheme, how he'd used Carter Electronics to launder money from Meridian Tech, with James facilitating every transaction. Marcus traced bank accounts, Sandra drafted our statement to the IRS, and Mom filled in historical details I'd never known. By dawn, we had a comprehensive picture, and a strategy. "You'll need to throw your father under the bus," Sandra said bluntly. "It's him or you two." Mom reached for my hand across the table. For the first time in years, I didn't pull away. "He's already gone," I said quietly. "But we're still here." Marcus looked up from his laptop. "You should know, there's a chance you'll lose the company regardless. The IRS could seize everything." "Then we'll start over," Mom replied, squeezing my hand. "Together." The sun rose over the city skyline, painting the conference room in golden light. In 6 hours, we'd face the IRS. In 6 hours, everything would change, again. == script part separator ===. As we approached the federal building, I felt strangely calm. Maybe it was exhaustion, or maybe it was finally knowing the truth after years of deception. "Ready?" Mom asked as we walked through security. "As I'll ever be," I replied. Sandra led us to a conference room where 3 stern-faced IRS agents waited. Agent Wilson, the one who'd called me, sat in the center, flanked by colleagues whose expressions suggested they'd already made up their minds about us. "Ms. Carter, Mrs. Carter," Wilson nodded. "We appreciate your cooperation." The door opened behind us. James walked in with Martin Reeves, Meridian's CEO, and 2 attorneys. "What are they doing here?" I demanded. "We're all connected in this matter," Wilson explained. "Mr. Thompson contacted us with information regarding potential financial irregularities." James smiled thinly. "Just doing my civic duty." Sandra stepped forward. "Before we begin, my clients have evidence demonstrating they were not willing participants in any fraudulent activities conducted by the late William Carter." She placed our documentation on the table. Mom and I exchanged glances as Wilson examined the papers. "Interesting," he said finally. "This contradicts what Mr. Thompson provided." "Of course it does," Mom replied. "Because James was the architect of this scheme, not its whistleblower." Martin Reeves shifted uncomfortably as James' face darkened. "That's absurd," James snapped. "I've been trying to clean up William's mess since you realized he was dead and couldn't protect you anymore?" I interrupted, sliding forward the bank transfers bearing James's signature. The room fell silent as the agents examined our evidence. "Mr. Thompson," Wilson said slowly, "perhaps you'd like to revise your statement?" James's attorney whispered urgently in his ear while Martin Reeves suddenly stood. "I think I need separate representation," Reeves announced. "Sit down, Martin," James said. We discussed this. Agent Wilson raised an eyebrow. Sounds like there's more to discuss, gentlemen. The next 4 hours were brutal. Document after document, transaction after transaction, a web of fraudum before our eyes. James grew increasingly desperate, finally pointing a finger directly at me. Catherine knew. She approved offshore transfers last year. Issue my head. Those were legitimate business expenses. You altered the routing numbers after I signed. Mom produced copies from her files. We have the originals and your modified versions. Deixe-me stamps, don't lie, James. By afternoon, the tide had completely turned. James and Martin were escorted to separate rooms, their attorneys frantically negotiating cooperation agreements. What happens now? I asked Wilson as the meeting concluded. Your father's estate will face significant penalties, he replied. But given your cooperation and evidence that you were manipulated, criminal charges against you two are unlikely. And the company? Mom asked. Wilson hesitated. That's complicated. There will be fines, monitoring, but salvageable. Outside the federal building, Mom and I stood in silence, watching James being led to a police car. The man who'd been like an uncle to me, now in handcuffs. I never thought it would end like this, I whispered. Mom looked at me, her eyes tired but clear. Nothing ends, Catherine. It just changes form. 3 months later, we reopened Carter Electronics, renamed Carter & Carter. Our staff reduced, our client list rebuilt, our reputation slowly healing. Mom and I still fought, about strategy, about the past, about whether the coffee should be dark or medium roast. But we fought as partners now, not enemies. That's portrait still hangs in the lobby. A reminder not of perfection, but of fallibility, and the courage to face truth, however painful. Sometimes, betrayal doesn't destroy you. Sometimes, it forces you to rebuild something stronger, not just a business, but a relationship you thought was lost forever. And sometimes, the greatest inheritance isn't what's written in a will, but the second chances we never expected to receive.